You guys don't know what today is. Today is the 2-year mark when I stumbled my way into learning that I had a vitamin D deficiency and also likely a magnesium deficiency as well, both causing a list of problems for me. My life has literally turned around since getting my vitamin D blood levels to optimal ranges. All it took was a little supplementing and ideally getting out in the sun. I had a turnaround within like 3 days, but I had 58 different symptoms, changes, and improvements just by addressing my deficiency, all of which I'm going to cover in my next video. But today I'm going to give you my story and some stats of how likely it is that this issue is affecting you or someone else that you know. I'm also going to point out that if you're supplementing vitamin D, you should be supplementing one of the forms of magnesium with it as well. And the form of magnesium that you have in your cabinet is not likely the form that's going to make a difference on your magnesium deficiency. Magnesium and vitamin D supplementation go together like peanut butter and chocolate, or peanut butter and jelly. And if you don't like peanut butter, then God help you. Let's start with some quick stats to discuss how likely it is that someone you know is running into these problems, including yourself. Let's look it up. What percent of the US population is vitamin D deficient? The NIH says 42% of people are deficient. Cleveland Clinic says that 1 billion people worldwide have a deficiency. A deficiency is the worst. And 50% of the world's population has a vitamin D insufficiency, which is not good and can make you feel like crap as well. 50% of children ages 1 to 5 are deficient, and 70% of kids ages 6 to 11 are insufficient or lower. The darker your skin tone is, the more likely you are to be deficient. So 63% of Hispanic people are deficient, and 82% of Black people are deficient as well. And Rhonda Patrick cited a study that 96% of people that had extreme cases of COVID-19 were also vitamin D deficient. I'm Tim, the owner and creator of 2 Buds 1 Shroom, where we discuss mental health and wellness from the patient perspective, real personal experience. We help people find nutritional, easy to make small changes that go a long way in helping you improve your quality of life and mental health. And the hope is that with some of these less drastic options, you can dampen your symptoms enough to pave the way to recovery. And maybe, just maybe, you can avoid needing to try or rely upon psychiatric medications. But please hear this, we're not against medications. We just think that it's practical to have a pecking order for healthy, less risky options to try before you go that route. I faced that decision before, and it's not a fun one to face because everyone worries about potential side effects that can come along with some of these medications. I had a prescription for Wellbutrin pretty much ready to go. And I was feeling so bad and desperate that I was willing to throw in the towel and try it. But I held out because I wasn't convinced that I had a structural problem with my brain. And I'm also really stubborn like my dad was. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm glad I held out. So hear my story because it may be something that you can relate to. I just turned 39 years old, and looking back, there was probably a 15 or so year period where my body just wasn't feeling the best. I had some elementary symptoms of like a vitamin D or magnesium deficiency, but I just didn't know that at the time. I had symptoms of being tired and having low energy, and my mood would be like up and down, but mostly down. But these rolling periods where I'd be motivated and not. And I just kind of lived with all these things thinking that this is normal life. I'd call myself a night owl and have to get up early, and I'd just blame the cause of me being tired on that. When I would wake up, I'd wake up exhausted. Well, I was in my 20s then, and your body can take a lot of crap from your poor decision making, but I'm gonna tell you something, shit's gonna change when you hit your 30s and 40s. As that 15-year period continued, these symptoms progressively grew worse. The final 2 to 3 years of that period, when I was like 35 to 37, were just awful. My low mood that was pretty much my norm turned into an outright depression. My body was stiff, and I never had the energy to do anything. And again, I had a ton of other symptoms, but my body felt like it was a grape that was just slowly dying on the vine, and I was withering away. And here's how bad it got. The concoction of symptoms that I was experiencing had me Googling things like symptoms of multiple sclerosis and Lou Gehrig's disease and am I bipolar? And if you ever would have asked me if I had anxiety during this period of time, I would have said no. But let me tell you something. After I found out what life was supposed to feel like after recovering from all this stuff, I totally had anxiety, dude. Here's what I was completely unaware of during this time. All of these were vitamin D and potentially magnesium deficiency symptoms. And all of these symptoms happened so gradually, I wasn't even aware of how they snuck up on me. And it gets more complex than that. because these common symptoms can also cause other symptoms when you live with them for a certain amount of time. It's like a cascade effect. When the first domino falls, so will the others. I call these ripple effect symptoms because when you throw a stone into the middle of a pond, all these little ripples are going to reach out and touch literally everything else. The majority of my 58 symptoms and changes that I experience were ripple effect symptoms. And not knowing this at the time, do you know who I blamed for how badly I felt? I blamed me. I thought I was the problem. I'd say negative things about myself that other people wouldn't say about me. And I wouldn't say them out loud, but I'd say them to myself in my head. And I started to think that I just didn't have drive anymore. I started to believe that I just lacked motivation. It felt like passion and discipline that I once had weren't there anymore. Quite frankly, I believed that I was just becoming lazy. And by that time, like everything just turned to gray. The negative stuff that I was saying about myself and began to believe, like none of that was actually true. I just felt so bad for so long because my body was starting to wear out from not getting the proper nutrients that it needed. And what I had to learn is that all of these thoughts are normal thoughts to have when you're feeling bad all the time. It's common to blame yourself for these problems. And when you do, it's going to erode your self-esteem. Well, I'm a believer that everyone needs to be working on themselves and hold a candle to their bullshit and bring attention to your thoughts and actions and behaviors. It's increasingly difficult to do so without the tool of nutrition in your tool belt. There are biochemical reasons, mostly nutritional, that are happening within you that can cause you to feel all these things. Mental health and nutrition go hand in hand. And if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have been totally skeptical. Let's face it, I would have been just a non-believer. But there's volumes of scientific evidence that supports what I'm saying, and there's new studies that are popping up all the time. And I'm going to tell you something. After stumbling my way into solving this, I am completely a believer now. And the full story is that I don't even really get the credit. On March 3rd of 2023, I was feeling so bad that I prayed to God one day, and I remember my prayer: whatever is going wrong with me, make it easy to fix. And 2 days later, I made the decision to just start supplements again. And I picked the 3 easiest to do, like based upon pill size, and the rest is history. I've had 2 years of stability now that I have not known as an adult. My energy's good, my sleep's good, my mood's stable, I'm upbeat, I'm extroverted again. And again, I started feeling the benefits within 2 to 3 days, and within a month. So take it from someone that's lived through it and is now on the other side. The list of symptoms that you may be experiencing may be as simple as addressing a nutritional need. And this is something that you need to look into for yourself. Had I been a little less hard-headed and a little bit more willing to get my blood work done, this probably would have been caught much sooner. But please note that there's still issues. Many doctors commonly don't even order vitamin D tests or have it come top of mind for some of these symptoms. When I asked my doctor to run a vitamin D test on me, he says, well, a guy your age shouldn't be low. And 2, magnesium serum or red blood cell tests don't truly show you the entire story of how good your magnesium reserves are. Only 1% of your total body magnesium is in the blood at any given moment of time, so you're only getting 1% of the story. And 3, even if your doctor catches your vitamin D deficiency, he's probably going to fail to mention that vitamin D is activated by magnesium. Literally, probably won't even mention magnesium at all in this conversation. They freaking skip it all the time. And if you don't have enough magnesium reserves, you can supplement vitamin D, thinking that you're doing the right thing and boosting your blood levels, but actually crash your magnesium levels at the same time. And when there's no magnesium to activate the vitamin D, there's no ability to activate vitamin D. And when both of these levels are low, it's going to make it feel like you're fermenting in the dumpster at a Six Flags next to their ice cream vendor. It's not going to be a good time. So you're going to have to advocate for yourself and your health here. Ask for a vitamin D test and strongly consider supplementing a form of magnesium. Ideally, magnesium glycinate and magnesium L-threonate. Those are the most reliable forms at getting your reserves up. And even with those 2 things in mind, there's still more things that you need to know about supplementing before you start. Like, what are the optimal blood levels? What to do if you get side effects from either one of these things? And how much is too much vitamin D? So let me tell you about our Discord community, because I don't want to leave you hanging on those questions. We have write-ups for some of this stuff, We're working on developing resources on various topics related to your mental health, and we write them from the lens of being a patient. We're not doctors, we're not medical professionals, and we're not giving you medical advice. But our guides can be a tremendously helpful way for you beginning your own research journey, especially for a topic like this. So what many people don't know is that there's a huge variety of effective options that are out there related to nutrition that you could try before making the leap of faith of trying antidepressants or anxiety meds. And 2 Buds 1 Shroom looks to change that for people. And there's some new therapies that are out there as well that are starting to get a lot of attraction and gain a lot of attention. We're working on getting the write-ups for those done too. But until they're done, maybe our community could put some things on your radar that you didn't know about before. Of course, for your own research and consideration, so you can look into it for yourself. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. When you leave us a comment, it actually helps out the video in the search results. A like goes a long way, and if you like our vibe, please subscribe. If you like the direction that 2 Buds 1 Shroom is headed in, and if you want to support our outreach to people, financially support us on our Patreon. And as always, keep trying the best you can, and keep paying good things forward. I'll see you next time.